These kids aren't yours, she said while folding my laundry like it was just another Tuesday. No screaming, no drama. Just 4 words that erased 18 years of bedtime stories and soccer games. I nodded, said, okay, and made her chamomile tea. She had no idea I'd already logged into the $28,000 tuition portal. My name is Marshall Sullivan. I'm 54 years old, and I've been working as an aviation mechanic at Denver International for the past 15 years. Good job, steady pay, benefits that most folks would kill for. I've been married to Marlena for 18 years, and Paisley and Corbin have been my whole world since the day they were born. I guess I should have known this day would come eventually. It was a Tuesday evening in February, cold as hell outside, and I was in the garage working on my old Harley. Been restoring that bike for 3 years now. It's my escape, my therapy. Marlena came out wearing that look she gets when she's spoiling for a fight. You married guys know the one I'm talking about. Marshall, she said, crossing her arms and leaning against the doorframe. We need to talk. I kept my eyes on the carburetor I was rebuilding. What about, honey? About you acting like their father when you're not. The wrench slipped in my hand, and I had to grip it tighter. Come again. Marlena stepped closer, her voice getting that sharp edge it gets when she's really wound up. Paisley came home crying today because you told her she couldn't go to that party at Jessica's house. You don't get to make those decisions. Marshall, these kids aren't yours. There it was. For words that cut through 15 years of bedtime stories, soccer practices, school plays, and midnight trips to the emergency room. For words that made every scraped knee I'd bandaged, every homework assignment I'd helped with, every parent-teacher conference I'd attended feel like a lie. I set the wrench down carefully and looked at her. Really looked at her. The woman I'd loved, the woman I'd built a life with, the woman who just told me that everything I thought I knew about my place in this family was wrong. Okay, I said quietly. I hear you loud and clear. I should have seen her flinch at how calm I was. Should have noticed the way her eyes widened just a bit. But I was too busy feeling something inside me shift. Something permanent. You know what they say about the calm before the storm? Well, I was that calm. Dead quiet on the surface, but inside, something fundamental had shifted. Marlena went to bed that night thinking she'd won some kind of victory. Thought she put me in my place. She had no idea she'd just handed me the keys to her destruction. I waited until I heard that soft snoring she does when she's had a glass too many of wine. Then I slipped out of bed like a ghost and padded downstairs to my home office. 15 years of financial records, all organized in neat little folders. College fund statements, school payment receipts, insurance policies where I'm listed as the father. Everything that proved I'd been more than just some guy passing through. The Riverside Preparatory Academy parent portal still had my password saved. Funny how technology makes revenge so much easier these days. I logged in and navigated straight to the billing section. Spring semester tuition for both kids, $28,000. Due in 2 weeks. My finger hovered over the payment authorization settings for maybe 10 seconds. Then I clicked Remove Authorization and watched the screen refresh. Payment method deleted. Future payments disabled. Just like that, I'd pulled the financial rug out from under her perfect little world. But I wasn't done. Not by a long shot. I opened up my laptop and pulled up the share drive I use with my accountant, Pete Rodriguez. Started uploading every receipt from the past 12 years. Orthodontist bills, soccer equipment, dance lessons, summer camps, family vacations. Everything totaled up to just over $230,000. 230 grand I'd spent on kids who their mother now claimed weren't mine. At 3 in the morning, I sent Pete an email. Freeze all education-related accounts. Revoke all future payment authorizations for Paisley and Corbin Sullivan. Effective immediately. The next morning came like any other. Marlena stumbled into the kitchen wearing her ratty old robe, hair looking like she'd been electrocuted. Paisley was already at the table eating cereal and scrolling through her phone. Corbin was upstairs getting ready for school. Morning, honey, Marlena said, kissing my cheek like nothing had happened. Like she hadn't just blown up our family the night before. I handed her a cup of coffee, black with 1 sugar, exactly how she likes it. Sleep well. Like a baby, she replied, already checking her emails on her phone. Paisley looked up from her cereal. Dad, can you drive me to Sarah's house after school? Mom said she's too busy. Before I could answer, Marlena cut in. Paisley, Marshall isn't your father. Stop calling him Dad. The spoon clattered against the bowl as Paisley's hand froze halfway to her mouth. What? You heard me, Marlena said, not even looking up from her phone. He's not your dad. He never was. I watched my daughter's face go through about 5 different emotions in 2 seconds. Confusion, hurt, anger, then something that looked like betrayal. She looked at me with those big brown eyes that reminded me so much of her mother when we first met. Marshall, I said quietly, is just fine, sweetheart. 3 days. That's how long it took for reality to come knocking on Marlena's door. I was in a hangar at DIA, rebuilding the hydraulic system on a Boeing 737, when my phone buzzed with a text from her. Call me now. Emergency. I finished tightening the fitting I was working on, cleaned my hands, and called her back. She picked up on the first ring. Marshall. Marlena's voice was tight, panicked. Did you do something with the school payments? I leaned against my toolbox, keeping my voice calm and professional. What do you mean? Riverside just called me. They said there's a problem with the tuition payment. They said you canceled the authorization. That's correct. There was dead silence on the other end for about 10 seconds. Then she exploded. What the hell do you mean, that's correct? You can't just cancel their school payments. Actually, I can. And I did. You made it very clear these kids aren't mine. So I figured their education wasn't my responsibility, either. Marshall, this is insane. You're punishing the children because you're mad at me. I chuckled, which seemed to make her even angrier. I'm not punishing anyone, Marlena. I'm just stepping back from responsibilities that apparently aren't mine to handle. You said they're not my kids. I believe you. We need to talk about this when you get home. Nothing to talk about. You made your position clear. I'm respecting it. I hung up and went back to work. But I couldn't help smiling when I thought about her scrambling to figure out how to come up with 28 grand in 2 weeks. That evening, she was waiting for me in the living room like a coiled snake. Paisley and Corbin were upstairs, probably wondering why their mother had been pacing around the house all afternoon. We need to fix this, Marlena said the moment I walked through the door. Fix what? The school payment. I called my bank. I don't have $28,000 just sitting around. I sat down in my recliner and picked up the newspaper. Sounds like you have a problem. We have a problem, Marshall. I looked at her over the top of the sports section. No, Marlena. You have a problem. I was told in no uncertain terms that these kids aren't mine. So their problems aren't mine either. Her face went red. You're being petty and vindictive. I'm being logical. You can't have it both ways. Either I'm their father and have a say in their lives, or I'm not and I don't. You chose option 2. The next morning, I did something I should have done years ago. I called my old buddy Desmond Walsh. Des and I went way back, served together in the Marines before I got into aviation, and he went to law school. He's been handling legal stuff for my business for the past 10 years, and he's the kind of lawyer who doesn't pull punches. Marshall, Desmond said when I walked into his office downtown. You look like hell. What's going on? I laid out the whole situation for him. Marlena's little speech about the kids not being mine, my response with the tuition payments, the financial records showing 18 years of expenses. Des listened without interrupting, occasionally making notes on his legal pad. When I finished, he leaned back in his chair and whistled low. 230,000, huh? Give or take a few grand. Marshall, you know I have to ask this, but are you absolutely certain you're not the biological father? Never had any reason to think I wasn't until 3 days ago. But the way she said it, I shrugged. She seemed pretty damn sure. Desmond pulled out a file folder and started writing. Here's what we're going to do. First, we're getting DNA tests done. Quietly. I know a lab that can process them fast and keep it confidential. And second, we start documenting everything. Every expense, every time you've acted as their father, every legal document that lists you as their parent. If this goes where I think it's going, you're going to want to be prepared. You think she'll try to divorce me? I think she's going to realize real quick that she just killed the golden goose. When that 28 grand comes due and she can't pay it, when the kids start asking questions, when reality sets in, yeah, I think things are going to get ugly fast. Des was right. That afternoon, Marlena called me at work again. The school gave me a payment plan option, she said without preamble. $7,000 down, then monthly payments. Good for you. I need you to cover the down payment. No, Marshall, be reasonable. These are the only kids you'll ever have. That hit like a punch to the gut, but I kept my voice steady. According to you, they're not my kids at all. I was angry. I didn't mean it. Funny how you didn't mean it when you need my money, but you sure meant it when you wanted to put me in my place." She hung up on me. I went back to rebuilding the hydraulic pump and tried not to think about how quiet the house was going to be without Paisley's laugh and Corbin's endless questions about how airplanes work. The school deadline came and went like a freight train. Marlena had been making frantic phone calls all week, to her sister in California, to her parents in Florida, even to her ex-husband's mother, if you can believe that. Nobody was willing or able to come up with 28 grand on short notice. I was in the kitchen Saturday morning, making my usual weekend breakfast of eggs and bacon, when Corbin came downstairs looking like someone had died. The kid's always been an early riser, just like me. Usually, he'd be chattering about his latest video game or asking if we could work on his model airplane together. "Marshall," he said, sliding into his usual chair at the kitchen table. "Are we poor now?" I set a plate of scrambled eggs in front of him. "What makes you ask that, buddy?" "Mom's been crying a lot, and Paisley said something about us maybe having to leave Riverside." Before I could answer, Marlena walked into the kitchen wearing yesterday's clothes and mascara smudged under her eyes. She looked like she'd been up all night, which she probably had. "Corbin, go eat in the living room," she said sharply. "I need to talk to Marshall." The kid grabbed his plate and disappeared faster than smoke. Smart boy. He could sense the storm coming. The school called yesterday evening. Marlena said once we were alone, "Final notice. If the payment isn't received by Monday morning, both kids are out." I kept eating my breakfast like she just told me the weather forecast. Rough break. "Marshall, please. I'll do anything. I'll apologize publicly. I'll admit I was wrong. Whatever you want. Just don't let them throw my children out of school." "Your children," I repeated. "That's the key phrase right there, isn't it?" Her voice started to shake. "Our children. I meant our children." "No, you didn't. You meant exactly what you said the first time." I stood up and rinsed my plate in the sink. "You know what the real problem is, Marlena? It's not that you said they weren't my kids. It's that you've been thinking it for years, and you finally got angry enough to say it out loud." She opened her mouth to argue, but I held up a hand to stop her. "I've been thinking about this all week. About how you've been pulling away from me for the past 2 years. How you stopped including me in school decisions. How you started making plans for their future without even asking my opinion. You've been slowly erasing me from their lives, and now you're surprised that I'm finally stepping back." Tears started running down her cheeks. "That's not true, isn't it? When's the last time you introduced me as their father instead of just my husband? When's the last time you backed me up when I had to discipline them? You've been treating me like an outsider in my own family, Marlena. I'm just finally accepting the role you've been pushing me into." She sank down into a kitchen chair like all the fight had gone out of her. "So what happens now? Now you figure out how to pay for their education. Or you find them a different school. Or you homeschool them. I honestly don't care anymore. And us. What happens to us?" I looked at this woman I'd loved for 12 years. This woman who'd just spent a week scrambling to fix a problem she created, and I felt nothing but emptiness. "I don't know, Marlena. You tell me. Are we a family? Or am I just the guy who pays the bills?" Monday morning brought the call I'd been expecting. Not from Marlena, not from the school's billing department, but from Dr. Imogen Carter, the school psychologist. I'd met her a few times at parent-teacher conferences. Sharp woman, cared about the kids, didn't take any nonsense from anybody. "Mr. Sullivan," Dr. Carter said when I answered my phone during lunch break, "I hope you have a few minutes to talk. I'm calling about Paisley and Corbin." "What about them?" "They were both pulled from classes this morning due to unpaid tuition. I wanted to speak with you before this situation gets any worse for them." I set down my sandwich and walked out of my truck for some privacy. "Dr. Carter, I appreciate your concern, but this isn't my decision to make. I'm not sure I understand. My wife made it very clear that I'm not their father. Since I'm not their father, their education isn't my responsibility." There was a long pause on the other end. "Mr. Sullivan, I've been working with children for 23 years. I've watched you at every school event, every parent conference, every soccer game. Those children adore you, and you've been nothing but a devoted father to them." That's what I thought too. Apparently, I was wrong. "May I ask what happened?" I gave her the short version. Marlena's little speech about knowing my place, her insistence that the kids weren't mine, my decision to step back for financial responsibilities I apparently had no right to handle. "Mr. Sullivan," Dr. Carter said gently, "I understand you're hurt. But these children are caught in the middle of an adult conflict they didn't create. Paisley came to my office this morning asking if she'd done something wrong to make you stop loving her. That hit me like a punch to the solar plexus. She said that. Children blame themselves when their world falls apart. It's what they do. Corbin's been telling his friends that his dad doesn't want him anymore. I closed my eyes and leaned against my truck. Dr. Carter, I need you to understand something. I love those kids more than my own life. But their mother has made it clear that my love doesn't matter because I'm not their real father. Have you considered that she might have been speaking out of anger? That maybe she said something she didn't mean in the heat of the moment. She's had a week to take it back. Instead, she's been running around trying to find money rather than admitting she was wrong. Dr. Carter sighed. Mr. Sullivan, I'm going to ask you something, and I want you to think carefully before you answer. If you found out tomorrow that these children were biologically yours, would that change how you feel about this situation? The question caught me off guard. I don't know. Then maybe you should find out. Because regardless of genetics, those children consider you their father. And right now, they think their father has abandoned them. After I hung up, I sat in my truck for 20 minutes, staring at the hangar where I've been working on the same damn hydraulic system for 3 weeks. Dr. Carter was right about one thing. If Paisley thought she'd done something wrong, if Corbin was telling people I didn't want him anymore, then this whole situation had gone way beyond making a point to Marlena. I pulled out my phone and called Desmond's office. Des, it's Marshall. How fast can you get those DNA tests done? Wednesday started like any other day until it didn't. I was working late at the hangar, finishing up the hydraulic system that had been giving me trouble for weeks, when my phone exploded with calls. First Marlena, then Paisley, then Marlena again, all within 5 minutes. Marshall. Marlena's voice was pure panic when I finally answered. Corbin's gone. What do you mean gone? He didn't come home from school. I called his friends. I called the school. Nobody's seen him since last period. Marshall, what if something happened to him? I was already grabbing my keys and heading for the truck. How long has he been missing? 3 hours. I was waiting for him to walk through the door, but then I called the school and they said he left at normal dismissal time. Did you call the police? Not yet. I thought maybe he was just, I don't know, hanging out somewhere. But Marshall, he's never done this before. She was right. Corbin was the most responsible 12-year-old I'd ever known. Always came straight home. Always called if he was going to be late. This wasn't like him at all. I'm on my way home. Call the police. Now. I broke about 15 traffic laws getting back to the house. Marlena was pacing in the driveway when I pulled up, still in her work clothes, mascara streaked down her cheeks. Paisley was sitting on the front steps, clutching her phone like a lifeline. Any word? I asked. Nothing, Marlena said. The police are on their way. I walked over to Paisley and sat down beside her. Hey, kiddo. You doing okay? She looked up at me with red-rimmed eyes. Dad, what if something bad happened to him? The word dad hit me like a physical blow. After everything that had happened, she was still calling me dad. We're going to find him, I said, putting my arm around her shoulders. I promise. 2 police officers showed up 20 minutes later, took statements, asked the usual questions. Had Corbin been upset about anything? Had there been any changes at home? Any problems at school? Marlena looked at me when they asked about changes at home, but I kept my mouth shut. This wasn't the time for family drama. The cops said they'd put out a bolo alert, check with his friends' families, canvass the neighborhood. Standard procedure for a missing child. But as the hours ticked by with no word, I could see the fear growing in Marlena's eyes. At 10 o'clock that night, my phone rang. Unknown number. Hello. Marshall. It was Corbin's voice, quiet and scared. I need you to come get me. Corbin. Where are you? Are you okay? I'm at the old airplane hangar on Industrial Boulevard. The abandoned one. And Marshall? Don't bring Mom. Just you. I found Corbin sitting on an old oil drum in the corner of the abandoned hangar, looking smaller than his 12 years. He'd been there for hours, judging by the way he was shivering in his school uniform. The place was a dump, broken windows, rusted machinery, graffiti covering most of the walls. Hey, buddy, I said, keeping my voice calm and steady. You gave us quite a scare. He looked up at me with eyes that were too old for his face. I had to think. I sat down on another oil drum across from him. What did you need to think about? About what Mom said. About you not being my real dad. His voice started to shake. I remember when I was little and you explained that families are made by love, not just blood. You said we were a real family. You said it didn't matter who made us. What mattered was who raised us. I remember that conversation. So what changed? Did you stop wanting to be our dad? I looked at this kid I'd raised, this boy who'd called me dad for 8 years, and felt something break inside my chest. Corbin, I never stopped wanting to be your dad. Your mother told me I wasn't your father. She said I needed to remember my place. But that's stupid, he said, anger flashing in his eyes. You're the one who taught me to ride a bike. You're the one who helps me with my homework. You're the one who comes to my soccer games. How does that not make you my dad? That's what I thought too. Corbin stood up and started pacing, all nervous energy and preteen emotion. I've been thinking about this all afternoon, about why Mom would say something like that. And I think I know. What do you think? I think she's scared. I think she's scared that we love you more than we love her. Because we do, you know. We love her because she's our mom, but we love you because you choose to love us back. That kid was too smart for his own good. And I think she said it to hurt you, because she was feeling bad about herself. Like when kids at school say mean things because they're jealous or whatever. I stood up and walked over to him. Come here, son. He threw his arms around me and started crying big, gulping sobs that seemed to come from somewhere deep inside him. I was so scared you were going to leave us, he said into my shirt. I was scared you were going to decide we weren't worth the trouble anymore. Corbin, listen to me. No matter what happens between your mother and me, no matter what anyone says, you and Paisley are worth everything to me. You understand? Everything. We stayed like that for a long time, standing in that old hangar while he cried out all the fear and confusion of the past week. When he finally calmed down, I called Marlena to let her know he was safe. Bring him home, she said, and for the first time in days, her voice sounded small and uncertain. We need to talk when I get there, I said. All of us. No more games, no more anger. Just truth. Okay, she whispered. Just bring my boy home. Our boy, I thought. But I didn't correct her. Not yet. Friday morning brought the call I'd been both dreading and anticipating. Desmond's voice was carefully neutral when he delivered the news. Marshall, the results are in. You need to come to my office. Just tell me, Des. Are they mine or not? This isn't a phone conversation. Trust me on this one. An hour later, I was sitting across from my oldest friend, holding an envelope that contained the answer to a question I'd never thought I'd have to ask. Desmond watched me with the expression he usually reserved for delivering bad news to clients. Before you open that, he said, I want you to think about what you're going to do with the information, regardless of what it says. I tore open the envelope and pulled out the lab report. The scientific language was dense, but the conclusion was clear as crystal. Probability of paternity, 99.7%. Both children, Paisley and Corbin, were biologically mine. Son of gun, I whispered. Yeah, your wife lied to you, Marshall. The question is why. I leaned back in the chair and tried to process what this meant. 14 years of marriage, 12 years of raising these kids, and Marlena had looked me in the eye and told me they weren't mine. Why would she do that? There's something else, Desmond said, sliding another folder across the desk. I did some digging after we talked. Your wife's been having some financial problems you might not know about. I opened the folder and found credit card statements, loan applications, and bank records. Marlena had racked up nearly $40,000 in debt over the past 2 years. Credit cards, personal loans, even a second mortgage on the house that I'd never signed. How did you get these? She listed you as a co-applicant on some of these loans. Technically fraud, by the way, since she forged your signature. But it gave me legal grounds to request the records. The picture was becoming clearer. Marlena was drowning in debt, probably panicking about money. And when I'd disciplined Paisley about that party, she'd lashed out in anger and fear. She'd said the one thing she knew would hurt me the most. What's your recommendation, counselor? Honestly, you've got grounds for fraud charges, divorce with cause, and probably a decent shot at full custody, given what she's put the kids through. But Marshall, that's the nuclear option. Once you pull that trigger, there's no going back. That evening, I sat the family down in our living room. Marlena looked like she hadn't slept in days. Paisley and Corbin sat close together on the couch, holding hands like they were bracing for impact. I got the DNA results today, I said without preamble. Marlena's face went white. The kids looked confused. What DNA results? Paisley asked. The ones that prove you're both my biological children. 100%, No doubt about it. Corbin's face lit up like Christmas morning. Really? You really are Dad. I was always your dad, buddy. But now we have scientific proof. I turned to look at Marlena, who was staring at her hands like they held the secrets of the universe. The question is, why did you lie to me? The conversation that followed was one of the hardest I've ever had. Marlena broke down completely, sobbing as she confessed to the debt, the forged signatures, the mounting panic that had been eating at her for months. She'd lashed out at me because she was terrified I'd leave when I found out about the money. I thought if I pushed you away first, it would hurt less when you left anyway, she said through her tears. So you decided to tell me the kids weren't mine? I wanted to hurt you the way I was hurting. I wanted you to feel as scared and alone as I felt. Paisley was crying now too. Mom, how could you say that to him? I don't know, baby. I was stupid and scared, and I said the worst thing I could think of. The kids went to bed that night confused but relieved. Their parents were talking instead of fighting, and they'd been reassured that their family wasn't falling apart. But Marlena and I stayed up until dawn, working through 12 years of marriage that had nearly imploded in one angry moment. What happens now? She asked as the sun came up over Denver. Now we fix this. The debt, the lies, the damage. But Marlena, if you ever lie to me about something this important again, if you ever use my children as weapons against me again, I'm done. You understand? Done. She nodded, still crying. I understand. 6 months later, we'd worked out a payment plan for Marlena's debt. She was seeing a therapist to deal with her anxiety and financial fears. The kids were back at Riverside, thriving in their classes and apparently none the worse for wear from their brief exile. I never forgot what Marlena had said to me that night in the garage, how easily she'd been willing to destroy everything we'd built together. But I also learned something about myself, that being a father isn't about biology or money or who has their name on the bank account. It's about showing up every day and choosing to love someone more than you love yourself. Corbin's still asking me to help him with his model airplanes. Paisley still calls me Dad, and every time they do, I remember that some things are worth fighting for, even when the fight nearly kills you. These days, when people ask me about family, I tell them the truth. Blood doesn't make you a father, but being a father sure as hell makes you family.